Not every boundary in love is broken with a massive explosion like betrayal or blatant lying. Often, it is pushed gradually, slowly, like the tide encroaching upon the sand. It starts with very small things. A joke that goes a bit too far about your flaws in front of friends. A message to an ex that she claims is harmless. A private meeting with a new friend that she insists is nothing at all. And here is the trap. If you react strongly, you are easily labeled as sensitive, controlling, or irrationally jealous. But if you remain silent, that boundary will shift one step further tomorrow. At Femina Mind, we do not ask the surface-level question, why is she doing this? We dive into the core psychological drive. What is actually happening beneath that behavior of pushing boundaries? Before we begin, we need an extremely important reframe. Pushing boundaries is not a unique privilege of women, and it does not always stem from bad intentions. In our mindset, boundaries are not tools to control others. They are how you define the way you want to be treated. When a boundary is pushed, it is not merely an act of aggression. It is a natural process of testing and power calibration in human psychology. There is always a deep-seated reason why a person wants to know how far they can go before hitting a solid wall. And the truth is, that reason is often darker and more instinctual than what we usually discuss on the surface. It involves respect, inner strength, and how the balance of emotional power is operating between two people. If you feel like you are losing your voice or respect in your own relationship, stay calm. We are not going to look for ways to punish the other person. We are going to find ways for you to understand the rules of the game in psychology, thereby reclaiming your status through your own self-respect. When a boundary is pushed, most men focus on arguing about the specific behavior. But at Femina Mind, we focus on decoding the subconscious intent. Why would someone risk conflict to take another step past your limits? Here are the two deepest psychological drivers. 1. Testing emotional strength, power calibration. This is the most common and instinctual reason. In behavioral psychology, pushing boundaries is often a test to determine if the cliff they are leaning on is truly solid. The essence. She does not do this because she wants to leave. She does it because she wants to know, how do you react when made uncomfortable? Are you so afraid of losing her that you are willing to compromise on things you dislike? Do you shift your stance just to keep the peace? The psychology. Instinctually, a woman needs to feel secure beside a man with stable internal principles. If she can easily push you off your own trajectory, she will subconsciously lose respect. The male mistake. You start over-explaining, justifying, or trying to prove you are open-minded and not controlling. In reality, when you are too afraid of being labeled controlling to honor your own discomfort, you have officially handed over the emotional power. 2. The addiction to validation over stability. There is a group that does not push boundaries to test you, but to satisfy their own personal needs, specifically external validation. She might flirt lightly with others in front of you, maintain ambiguous contact with orbiters, or frequently post attention-seeking content on social media. The dark part. It is not that she wants to betray you immediately, it is that she is addicted to the feeling of being chosen and desired by many. This need is sometimes greater than the desire to maintain a stable relationship. The Femina Mind analysis. When a person prioritizes validation from strangers over their partner's peace of mind, boundaries will always be tested. By accepting this, you are teaching her, my insecurity is less important than your ego. 3. Uncertainty about you, the exit gray zone. This is a painful driver that we must honestly acknowledge. Sometimes pushing boundaries is an unconscious exit strategy. When a woman feels uncertain about the future of the relationship, but is afraid to be the one to initiate the breakup, she may start acting ambiguously or pushing boundaries to the extreme to force you to react. She wants you to play the villain, the one who loses his cool, the one who is controlling, or the one who says it is over. By pushing you to the limit, she creates a reason to leave without taking full moral responsibility. At Femina Mind, we want you to understand, when a boundary is pushed, it is a systemic signal. It shows that the power balance is skewed or respect is eroding. If you react with anger or pleading, you are only feeding these dark drivers. Right now, you might not feel angry, just slightly unsettled, not because a major line was crossed, but because something small didn't sit right. A comment, a request, a reaction. Nothing dramatic, yet not entirely neutral either. That's what makes boundary shifts so easy to ignore. Each moment feels minor on its own. You can justify it, contextualize it, explain it away. And because you value harmony, you lean toward flexibility instead of resistance. After all, compromise is part of any relationship. But boundaries rarely collapse in one bold move. They erode through repetition, like a shoreline shaped not by one wave, but by thousands of gentle ones that slowly redraw the edge. Or like a line in pencil that fades each time it's lightly rubbed. The issue isn't a single push. It's whether the push meets firmness or accommodation. What matters here isn't whether she tests limits consciously, it's whether the dynamic rewards it. When small oversteps are met with hesitation, over-explanation, or fear of conflict, the relationship quietly learns that pressure works. And once that pattern sets in, it doesn't escalate loudly, it stabilizes around what's permitted. From here, the shift becomes structural, because what follows isn't louder defiance, it's recalibrated expectation. This is where many people don't lose control dramatically, but gradually normalize having less say than they once did. If you've ever felt a boundary move without remembering agreeing to move it, stay with me. 4. The loss of respect. This is the darkest reason and a red flag warning for any relationship. The behavior. She begins to speak disrespectfully, interrupts you, or mocks your efforts in front of others. She prioritizes plans with strangers over commitments to you. She ignores things she knows full well will hurt you. The psychology. In psychology, a boundary is only respected when the person setting it is valued. When respect drops, boundaries are automatically trivialized. At this stage, pushing boundaries is no longer a test to find safety. It is an expression of contempt. The harsh truth: if a woman sees that you have no reaction or a weak reaction when being belittled, your value in her eyes will never spontaneously return. On the contrary, it will continue to plummet. 5. The lesson of no consequences. A boundary that is not accompanied by a consequence is, in reality, just a plea. The familiar pattern: 1. She pushes a boundary, e.g., staying out too late without notice. 2. You feel bothered, complain, or even argue. 3. She soothes you with a few explanations or simply ignores it. 4. You quickly let it go because you fear prolonged conflict or losing her. The result: you have just taught her a lesson. I might be upset, I might say I don't like it, but in the end, I will still stay and accept it. The analysis. The human brain consistently tends to test where the actual limit lies. If you say no, but your actions say yes, that boundary disappears entirely. This isn't necessarily because of malice, but because that is how the systems of power and respect calibrate to the reality of actions. The uncomfortable truth for the man. At Femina Mind, we must be direct. The dark side does not just lie in her behavior, it lies in your own fear. Many men talk about boundaries very well at a drinking table or in their thoughts, but tremble when they must actually enforce the consequences. Why? Because you fear that if you are firm, she will leave you. Because you fear being called patriarchal or controlling. Because you are too dependent on her emotions to feel you have value. But you must understand a paradox. When you sacrifice self-respect to keep the peace, you are silently inviting the next act of disrespect. This is the dark loop that many men remain trapped in for years. We have traveled through the psychological shadows of boundary pushing. But in this final part, Femina Mind wants you to focus on the core solution. This solution does not lie in changing her, it lies in redefining yourself. The harsh truth: a boundary is not a negotiation. Many men mistakenly believe that a boundary is something to be debated or explained until the other person agrees. The truth is, a boundary is your personal standard. You do not need her agreement for that boundary to be in effect. When you over-explain why a behavior is wrong, you are unintentionally standing in the position of someone asking for permission to be respected. In the Femina Mind mindset, power does not lie in shouting or punishment, it lies in consistency. The 3-step roadmap to resetting your status. If you feel your boundaries are being encroached upon, do not use anger. Use calmness and decisiveness. Define your red lines. Clearly, you must be honest with yourself first. What is unacceptable? E.g., ambiguity with an X, public disrespect. If you are vague, she will push further. Communicate exactly once. Speak calmly and clearly without being defensive or accusatory. I am not comfortable with you maintaining that kind of contact with your ex. That is my boundary in this relationship. Stop there. Do not argue for 3 hours. Enforce the consequence. This is the hardest step. If the behavior repeats, you must align your actions with your words. Consequences are not for retaliation, they are to protect your value. Sometimes, the ultimate consequence is the withdrawal of your energy or ending the relationship. Attraction exists where self-respect dwells. Memorize this principle. Attraction cannot exist in an environment devoid of respect. A woman may love you for your kindness, but she can only maintain desire and long-term attachment when she sees you as a man capable of protecting his core values, even if it means losing her. The greatest paradox of boundaries is this: only when you are truly ready to lose a relationship to protect your self-respect do you actually possess the capacity to keep that relationship healthy. And in the end, the point worth reflecting on is not whether women like to push boundaries, nor is it for you to view every challenge in a relationship as a conspiracy. The deeper issue lies here. When your boundaries are touched, how do you react to yourself? Do you still stand firm in your standards, or do you begin to negotiate them just to keep the peace? Many people think that if they are just a bit more patient, a bit more flexible, everything will be fine. But there is a truth seldom spoken. Boundaries only truly exist when they have consequences. If you overlook them every time they are crossed, you aren't saving the relationship. You are teaching the other person how to continue doing it. Stepping back when necessary is not a negative reaction. Sometimes it is simply the way you stop participating in a dynamic that makes you smaller. Femina Mind does not exist to make you rigid or to view a relationship as a power struggle, nor is it to turn women into objects of suspicion. Femina Mind is an observational mindset, helping you recognize when a behavior is accidental and when it becomes a repeating pattern. It is a way to stay calm when emotions are triggered, and it is the self-respect compass that reminds you that boundaries are not meant to control others. They are to protect your own balance. Perhaps the question worth pausing on is not, why did she do that? Instead, it is, when my boundaries are tested, am I clear enough to hold on to them? If you want, you can share your thoughts in the comments section, not to accuse anyone, but simply to be honest with your own experience. And if Femina Mind helps you maintain that clarity and dignity, you can stay and follow the channel. Not to stop someone else from crossing a line, but to ensure you never cross your own.